That is one session. We did another session about how to start IT journey, different steps involved. That was another session we had. And these two sessions are recorded, available on CGC YouTube channel. So today's session is about the next step in the journey. So you can consider these three as a series, one after the other. The first one is to decide uh, which kind of career option to enter into IT industry. And the second one is about the steps. And the third one is some more fine tuning in that same process. So today we are trying to present you a topic where how to work on a project. If you are a seasoned professional, you can consider this session as a planning and you're planning to develop your own product. And if you are a college graduate, this session is going to help you uh, in next steps in finding the job. So going to the first slide here. So this is for who and why are we doing this, right? The reason why we are doing this is we are trying to fill the gap between a university education, you have a bachelor degree or master's degree, and you're trying to get a job, and it is really becoming tough to find a job. That is what we always face whenever we conduct any Q&A sessions. Many of the job seekers say, we are trying to get a job, but it is really becoming difficult. So we have designed this presentation to fulfill that answer to answer that question. Uh, and these days, in most of the companies are not really offering any internships, especially the serious internships. There are some companies which are offering the internships, but those internships are not really useful. We spoke to many of the job seekers in last few years, and they are saying that we did the internship, but when we spoke to them, what did they do in their internship? There was a big blank. So we are trying to fill that blank to prepare them to answer the question, what did you do during internship? They should be vocal about what did they do, because the industry is really offering the internship, but those internships are not really effective and they are not really helping them. And I'm trying to move this out here. Okay, right. Uh, for those who did not get the on-campus placement, for who this presentation is meant for who? So those are the job seekers who did not get a job placement. For example, you completed your education in some college, and that college is not really offering a on-campus placements, or the college is offering but you did not get selected because of whatever the reason it is, and now you are looking for a job. If you are coming from, for example, IIT, at least 60% of the IIT students are getting a job placement, 40% are not. And in smaller colleges, that percentage is even smaller. In many of the colleges, there is not even a campus placement. No company comes and hire them. So what they have to do? For them, we have prepared this presentation today. Uh, if uh, if you are already in college right now, the advice is you do all these steps what I am telling right now during the college itself. But if you are already out of the college, then you cannot do anything, but you have to just follow these steps and work on your project. And one final important point is this whole presentation is applicable only for the people who are planning to work in IT industry. Those who are planning to work in some other industry, it may not be really helpful for them. So before we move on to the project itself, we have to have some kind of a prep. The pre-preparation is you have to form a team of professionals. So in my first presentation, which I told just now, in that we were talking about what are the different job uh, career options in IT industry. Some of them are listed here. So you need some kind of a senior professional to guide you in the whole process. It is not really required, but it is good to have. So if you have a senior professional and the senior professional is going to work as a lead, in CGC, there are many experienced professionals in different domains. If you are not able to find a senior professional, you can contact CGC and CGC can help you finding out who is going to become a lead for your project. We need a database person to initiate the project. So to start the project, most of the projects, almost 99% of the projects, there will be some database. You can pick and choose which database you want to use. It can be Postgres, MySQL, Mongo, or any other database, whatever you feel like, whatever you're comfortable with. So you can pick up the database and you need to have a database expert for at least 1 hour meeting, half an hour meeting with them. That is where you can get their feedback. This is the database we are planning to work on. Please guide us, right? You might need a cloud professional, not really required, but it is good to have another cloud professional to guide in the cloud side. Senior developer in whatever the technology you're planning to work. If you're planning to work on Java or C Sharp or Node or Python, so you need a senior developer who is going to guide through the entire process. And this senior developer is going to give you a guidance in at least 5 to 8 different meetings. Once in a while, you can have a meeting with the senior developer in the whole process. I'll tell you where and how. If you have a plan to work on the UI also, like you using Angular or React or any technology, you might need a senior UI professional to guide you in the whole process. So these are the different team members you might need in the project execution. So what are the steps? The first step in this whole process is you have to define what is your aim. I can give some examples. I have listed those examples at the end here. I'll just show you one more. Yeah, these are the examples. So, for example, you are planning to work on a hotel management project. You have a hotel. Hotel has different rooms, and you are going to the customers are going to reserve those rooms, and they are going to stay 1 or 2 nights in those rooms, and you're going to provide different amenities in those rooms. For example, in some of the rooms you have a microwave, you have a refrigerator. In some of the rooms you have a extra bed. All those things you are going to define in your project. And who are the customers? What is the customer information? What is the billing information? Who are the employees in your hotel? And what are the supplies in your hotel? Otherwise, if you are planning to do a hostel or dorm management, what are the food items you are going to provide? How many rooms? How many students are going to live in each room? What is the menu in the food? What are the different supplies you need and how much inventory you want to maintain? Like that, you can have a your own dream project, right? If I go back to my first slide where I was talking, so you have to define the project aim. I have given some examples. You can pick and choose your own. You don't have to follow any of those examples. You can come up with your own example. So you have to define what is your project aim, what this project is actually trying to do. That is your project aim, mission statement. Then you divide that project into smaller modules, or you can divide that into phases also. You don't have to work on the entire project on day one. Complete the whole project in 1 month, for example. After 1 month, you can say, okay, we are going to do some enhancements. We are going to add some more extra features to the project. And you are going to divide that project into modules. If you have, for example, 5 people are working, each of them are going to work on each module. if you divide that project into modules. Uh, y- After that, you have to define how that project is going to look like. For example, I'm working on a car dealership project. So there will be a screen where I'm going to show used cars. Another screen, I'm going to show the new cars. In another screen, I'm going to show the spare parts required for to repair a car. In another screen, I'm going to enter the inventory. In another screen, I'm going to add a new car, otherwise showing car details to the customer. So all these screens, you have to come up with rough modeling. So you are going to take a pen paper, otherwise you can take some tool, for example, Visio kind of a tool. Otherwise you can use, there are so many tools available these days. You have AI also. So you can come up with wireframes. Wireframe means it looks like a screen, but actually it's a dummy screen. It's like a picture. It is going to give you an idea what are the different fields you need. For example, I'm trying to create a new car in a car dealership project. So we need a field for car manufacturer company name, for example, Toyota. What is the model? Camry. And which year it is? Uh, how many cylinders? V4 versus V6. What is the horsepower, what is the mileage, whether it is a petrol car or diesel car. So all this information you have to gather while creating a new car record in our database. So if you come up with these wireframes, the UI, static UI images, that is where you get an idea how many fields we are going to have and how we are going to collect that information, where we are going to save that information. That is the first step. You can just take a pen paper and do it. You don't have to be in too much fancy using AI or all those things. The next step is you are going to list out the microservices. So even if you are working on UI side, you just have to imagine, oh, there will be an endpoint. That endpoint is going to give me an option to add a new car. There is an endpoint to search for the used cars. There is an endpoint to show the customer billing. So you can list out what are the different microservices. You can have 2 microservices, 5 microservices, 15 microservices. That is your choice. If you have more and more microservices, you can divide among your team members. For example, 5 people are working. Each of them are going to work on 3 different microservices so that we are not going to step on each other's toes, right? Why microservices? Because that is what the industry is using these days. Almost every project in 2025-24 is dividing the big, massive application into smaller microservices. In some projects, you might need some additional services. For example, some batch process, it is going to run every night. For example, I'm going to do the calculations every night and see if I have to pay one of my supplier. For example, in my car industry, someone is supplying the carburetors, someone is supplying the screws, someone is supplying the tires, and I have to pay. So every night, one batch process is going to work. And on that day, we are going to say, okay, my tires are below inventory. I need 200 tires. I'm going to place an order and I'm going to pay the money. So this kind of a nightly batch processes you are going to run. Those who are working in government industry, they might know government is sending some kind of a driving license or immigration document or a passport. Every night you are going to run a batch process and it is going to order these plastic cards or passports or whatever. And they will be they are going to generate the tracking number for the post office. So depending upon what is your project, whether there is a batch process required or not, you can decide based on your project. And if you need in some kind of a SMTP service, email service, a Kafka streaming service, depending upon what is your project requirement, you can have some additional services apart from the APIs and microservices. The last thing is identify some tools and technologies. For example, I'm working on a Java project. To work on a Java project, I need additional technologies like tools. I might need a Maven. I might need a Gradle. I might need a Git desktop software. I might need some kind of a database software like MySQL. So you have to identify what all the tools and technologies you need to fulfill your project requirements. More steps. So once we have defined what we did the wireframes, we have divided into microservices, we have batch processes, everything is defined, nothing is done properly. Now we are going to the next step. So the next step is whatever the softwares we have identified. For example, I have identified as MySQL as my database. So I have to install that MySQL software in my laptop. First step. Then you have decided you want to work on Java, for example. You have to download the Java software in your laptop. You can decide on a Node.js, Python, C Sharp, Scala. There are so many different technologies available. Whatever the technology you are planning to work on, you need to install them. For example, I have decided to use Maven. I have to download the Maven software and install it. So all the necessary tools and technologies you have to download and install in your laptop. Most of the projects these days, we are planning to use Git as a repository. So if you open a Git account, if you don't have one, that is better. Uh, One other important aspect of the Git is if multiple people are working on your project and to collaborate with other team members, you need a Git account for each of these members and share the project between all those team members, right? Uh, Most of the projects, 90 to 99% of the projects requires a database. So you have to consult a senior database professional and tell them, okay, we are planning to create these tables. And you as a inexperienced professional, come up with the table structure, come up with a SQL. For example, create table user cars, create table new cars, create table car parts. So you create all these tables by yourself, but before you finally execute those tables, better to have like half an hour meeting, 1 hour meeting with a senior database professional to just review, because we might not know some things, they might know, and they are going to give you a suggestion. Oh, this is missing, or this is wrong, this is not going to work. If we don't consult a senior database professional, we might end up doing a lot of rework later. So plan the database tables by yourself and review with the senior professional. If you need, you can insert some sample data, otherwise that is not really a required step. Then you are going to work on a microservices. So if you have a team of professionals, like two people are working on the back end, two people are working on the UI. So the backend people are going to develop on the APIs. If you don't have any backend team, you can just create a dummy data and you work on UI itself. If you don't have any UI team, you only have like 5 people and everyone is working on the microservices, then you can just develop the microservices. Anything is fine. So now you have developed the microservices, and that microservice is somehow working, not working, partially working. It need not be perfect. Nothing is perfect in this world. Even you go to industry, you're working in an industry, nothing is perfect. No matter how perfect software you write, next day you find some flaw, some defect in it. So don't worry about perfection. You just develop something and then now review. You have developed something, you review with industry professionals. What they do is they are going to tell what is the industry best practices. For example, I am trying to use a variable, and that variable is integer. And in industry, based on the data size, you might have to use big integer instead of integer. Otherwise, you might have to use long. You are trying to save the data into a table. Maybe it is better practice to save that particular data in the form of a JSON or XML. These days, most of the modern databases are supporting the JSON and XML. So all these feedbacks you can get from the industry professionals. And periodic review with the industry professionals, seasoned professionals is always helpful and that is advisable. They are going to give you what's happening in that industry and what are the industry best practices. More enhancements, not really required, like writing the unit test cases, adding some validations, doing some error handling, user friendly error messages. So these are all not really required on day one. But once you are satisfied, you have developed some project and it is working fine, you can add these bells and whistles. For example, you have a working car and you need a backup camera. You can add a backup camera to existing car. You have a car and it requires an additional light, which I'm going to use during fog. So those fog lights are not really required for car to run. It is good to have. So all these good to have things you can add to your project once it is the basic minimum is done and working, right? You can improvise the logging mechanism, troubleshooting mechanism, error handling mechanism, and you can do some kind of a load testing, capacity planning. Why we have to do all these things? Because when you are done your project and you're going for an interview, many of the times in interview, the people who are taking your interview are going to ask these questions. How did you handle the errors? How did you do the logging? How did you do the troubleshooting? So to answer those questions, you have to have some kind of a hands-on experience. That's why you have to uh, do all these steps. And security is important these days. Everyone is saying security, cyber security. So you can consult some cyber security professionals if they are available. Otherwise, you can come up with some basic security principles. For example, every project has to have a username password. No one is supposed to directly come and use it. Uh, if it's a car dealership, sales department has few functions to accomplish the project, and the service department has a few functions to accomplish. Managers have few functions to accomplish. The finance department has few functions to accomplish. So finance department people are not supposed to go and edit the inventory. Inventory department is not supposed to go and edit the money matters, the financial matters, monetary matters. So you can define those boundaries in your project and define the roles of the users who are using the project. All these things, if you do in your project, you can better handle the interviews. So security is another aspect which you can add during the fine tuning. Now you have done your fine tuning and your project is ready and it has been reviewed by senior professionals multiple times. Now go back to your Git and see how that Git code looks like. Sometimes we add a lot of comments, unnecessary code, unused methods. Some classes, class names looks bad. Otherwise, some kind of a file name looks bad. Because what we are planning to do is whatever the project we have developed, this project I'm going to write in my resume. I'm going to say I worked on this project, and I'm going to showcase whatever the Git link I have. I'm going to share that Git link in my resume. And when I go for an interview, I'm going to open that project and explain these are the different classes, files, whatever you call it as I have developed. So it has to be presentable, right? So fine tune. Again, this is like a extra fine tuning once you are done with your validations, error handling, logging, troubleshooting, everything. If you want to showcase this project running, you might have to deploy this project on a cloud. So if it is deployed on a cloud and working on a cloud, you can go for an interview, and during the interview itself, you can do the demo of the project. So see, this is the project I worked on. Here the customer comes, customer says, I'm here to buy a car. Customer says, I'm here planning to buy a used car. And I'm trying to search for a car. Someone is trying to repair the car and you are dealing with that customer All these things you can demonstrate if you deploy the project on a cloud. This is not really required, but if you're really interested to do that, you have to do, but costs involved because cloud is not free, right? Uh, if you are planning to deploy on a cloud, you can do some testing, and also you can share this project with testing professionals, QA professionals. You have some senior who worked in IT industry, worked as a tester or a QA for 5, 10 years. They can do some kind of a testing, negative testing on your project, and they can give you some feedback. Oh, see, this is where there is a problem. I am trying to enter a phone number, and if I am giving my name instead of phone number, it is supposed to take only the numbers. So these industry professionals always do negative testing and penetration testing, security testing, all these things they do in their office. So if you share with them, if it is deployed on a cloud, they can give you the feedback. Uh, if you are developing the API and UI both, then you can do some kind of a integration testing between the UI and the API to make sure the integration is perfect. Whatever the information the UI is giving, API is receiving, and whatever the error messages API is giving, the UI is able to show, and those messages are properly displayed. All this integration testing you have to do if you have a team of professionals who are doing UI work and API work. If you have only the uh, API professionals, then there is no integration testing. If you have only UI professionals, there is no integration testing. If you are working as a backend and front end developer, also known as full stack developer, then you can do the integration testing between those two modules of your application. And one last step in this whole process is you prepare the interview questions, because at the end of the day, we are doing all this hard work to win the interviews, get the job. So potential interview questions. So someone is going to ask you, "Oh, why did you come up with this kind of a database design?" For example, I have uh, some customer information I'm trying to insert into my database. For example, car seats. Car seats are leather seats, white car seats, otherwise car cleaning supplies, some car accessories. I'm going to store that information in the form of a JSON. So in interview, the interviewer might ask you, why did you decide this data to be saved as a JSON, not as a separate column? You have to have a strong reason to present during the interview. Otherwise, they are going to say, why are you using MongoDB? Why not MySQL? Right? They are going to say, how did you handle the security part? How if someone is trying to hack your website? What kind of security measures you have taken? How are you handling the errors? Depending upon what technology you're using, depending upon what kind of job you are looking for, the interview questions are going to differ. So you have to have all the aspects covered. So you prepare all your interview questions from your project, and you can take the help from the seniors. So the last slide today, I'm giving some examples here. The hotel management. So in hotel management project, if I'm planning to work on a hotel management project, the first thing comes in mind is rooms. So how many rooms you have in your hotel, and what are the different types of rooms? For example, there are some rooms where I have 2 beds. There are some rooms I have 4 beds. There are some rooms there is only one single bed. In some rooms I have additional sofa bed. In some rooms I have refrigerator, amenities. In this hotel, I need some supplies. For example, cleaning supplies, the bed sheets, the pillowcases. You are going to provide some water bottles to the customers. All these things you are going to plan when you are planning for a hotel management project. And when the customer comes, you have to save the customer credit card information, customer information, phone number, email address, first name, last name, how many guests they are planning to bring, And in case if we are planning to give them some kind of additional benefits or something, you are going to give some coupons or something. And you have employees in your hotel, and you have to save their names as users in your project. And when the employee log in, you have to see whether the employee is a manager, then the manager can access these things. If the employee is a front desk person on in your hotel, what that person can do. And all this information you are going to save in your database, and come up with APIs, develop the UI, and make sure there is a security, define the roles and responsibilities. It's a hotel management project. If it's a hostel management or a dorm management project, you are going to have people who are living in your hostel. Most of the times they are, for example, college students. And if they are college students, they are from which department? Mechanical engineering department, civil engineering department. Otherwise, if it's a hospital, you can say orthopedics department, gynecology department, dermatology department, radiology department, which department the student is coming from, which year of the study they are in, first year, second year, third year, and what is their primary information like phone number, email address, parents information, emergency contact, do they have any dietary restrictions, some kind of food allergies. All this information you have to gather and save in your database. So UI is going to work on collecting the information. The API is going to do the orchestration between the UI and the database. In the database, you are going to create those tables and all that information, right? If it's a jobs project, recently a few people started working on a jobs project in my circle. The employer will come. The employer is going to create a new job. So employer is going to say, I need, for example, there is a chain of shops, like you have Reliance in India, here we have Walmart. So in Walmart, we have a separate garden department, we have a food department, we have automobile supply department, tires department, separate departments. So in each department, you need people to work. So in tire departments, I need tire specialists, the person who can change the tires, fill the air in the tires, check the puncture. In garden department, I need someone who is expert in trees, plants, and seeds, and soil. Uh, so the employer is going to create a new job. Someone says, in this particular shop, I need a person who is going to work in the garden department, soil specialist, or a plumbing specialist, or electrical equipment specialist, or refrigerator specialist. So they are going to open a new job. On the other hand, the job seekers are going to come your website, and they are going to apply for a job. I am an electrician. I need a job in this particular shop. And I'm going to say I am open to relocate from place A to city B. Otherwise, they are going to say I'm going to work only in this particular city. It is closer to my home. And employers also, when they create a new job, they are going to say, I'm going to uh, hire a person, but the person has to be local to my city. I'm not going to hire a person if the person is not living in my city, because relocation expenses, people come back and say, I joined the job, but every week I need a leave to go to my home. So everyone has their preferences. The employer has preferences, the job seeker has preferences. So all these things you are going to save in your database. And whenever I'm going to talk about jobs, we are going to talk about skills. For example, if it's an IT job, then we have to say, do you have a database skills? Do you have a programming skills? Do you have UI skills? Do you have cloud skills, deployment skills? All those things. If it is a plumbing job, you are going to say, or do you know how to join the pipes, find out the leakages? If it's an electrician job, then you are going to say, what is the difference between high voltage and low voltage? Electrical wires, different types of wires, different types of switches, different types of sockets. All those things are skills. So depending upon what kind of a job, you are going to create skills table, separate table for the skills, and to save those skills for each job seeker, and to save those skills for each job. So that is your project, right? If it's a financial project, for example, you're dealing with a company, and company has expenses, company has income, different categories of expenses, different categories of income. uh, Sometimes there will be some losses, there may be profit, and there may be a share given to the employees. All these tables you are going to define, all these UI you are going to define, all the business rules you are going to define. And if it is a UI, then you are going to define how to present the data, how to collect the data. For example, I am trying to create a new expense. There will be a UI screen where I am going to enter, oh, these are my expenses. You might also need some kind of a batch job. Every night you are going to download the bank statements or credit card statements. Every month you are going to get the credit card statements, upload into your database. There may be some automated batch process. That is your financial project. Car dealer, I spoke a lot about it. You can have a real estate project. You might be selling land, you're selling the houses, building new houses. You are renting the, someone need help to rent their house. Someone need help to rent their shop, commercial area. You might have to repair the houses. You might have to do some kind of a legal paperwork. Depending upon what all you're planning to incorporate in your project, you have to come up with UI screens. You have to come up with the database design, database tables. These are all few things. I'm just giving the examples. You can use your imagination to come up with what kind of project you are planning to work. Uh, I think I have given enough information to start a new project, but in case if I missed something or you have any questions, feel free to ask, unmute and ask, otherwise you can type.
Yes, thank you, Fasi bhai. I'll just stop the recording 1 second, and then